Hello, I'm Nima Rajan. A multinational search effort is continuing in the Ionian Sea for 5 Canadian Armed Forces members missing since their helicopter crashed on Wednesday. The body of Sub-Lieutenant Abigail Calbro of Nova Scotia is the only one to be recovered so far. A military flight investigation team has been dispatched to the scene, and the cyclone's flight data and voice recorders are being returned to Canada for analysis. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says the federal government is banning a range of assault-style guns with an order that takes effect immediately. He says the order has a 2-year amnesty period for current owners and there will be a compensation program. In an announcement this morning, he cites numerous mass shootings from Ecole Polytech in 1989 to the killings in Nova Scotia last week as the reasons for the move. Stricter controls on firearms were a promise in the Liberals' election campaign platform last fall. Now, as some provinces prepare to reopen their economies, COVID-19 has now spread to every corner of Canada. There are now 53,236 confirmed and presumptive cases of the novel coronavirus. Most of those cases are in Quebec and Ontario, which are the epicenters of the outbreak. But Nunavut now has at least one confirmed case. COVID-19 has claimed at least 3,184 lives across the country. Well, some activities will start to get back to normal today in Prince Edward Island. Priority non-urgent healthcare services start up today, including some elective surgeries, and physiotherapists, optometrists, and chiropractors can be open for business. Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Alberta will allow a variety of businesses to open and activities to resume starting on Monday. The C.D. Howe Institute's Business Cycle Council says Canada has entered a recession due to the economic devastation caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. In a report released today, the council says the economy peaked in February before the steps taken to slow the spread of COVID-19 brought the economy to a standstill. The C.D. Howe Council defines a recession as a pronounced, persistent, and pervasive decline in aggregate economic activity, and it looks at both GDP and employment as its main measures. Leading philanthropists and immunization experts say that even if a COVID-19 vaccine is found this year, the world lacks the ability to properly manufacture, finance, and distribute it. They say international science, business, and political cooperation needs to begin now, even as research continues. A lab at the University of Saskatchewan has developed a prototype COVID-19 vaccine due to start clinical trials in autumn. Well, China's envoy in Ottawa says his country appreciates Canada's cool-headed cooperation on battling COVID-19. Ambassador Kong Pi-Wu says he is awaiting a report from his government on how 1 million face masks that Canada imported from China were found to be inadequate for healthcare workers. In an exclusive interview with the Canadian press, he says he wants Canadians to know that Michael Kovrig and Michael Spavor are healthy and getting good treatment in Chinese custody. The two Canadians have been detained for more than 500 days. The Conservative leadership race was on hiatus due to the COVID-19 pandemic, but it is underway once again with candidates Peter MacKay and Erin O'Toole quick to start campaigning. The party was going to name the new leader on June 27th at a convention in Toronto. That's not happening, so organizers are exploring how to hold virtual debates and will be sending out ballots in early summer to be returned by August 21st. Former U.S. Vice President Joe Biden is denying an allegation by a former staff member that he sexually assaulted her in the basement of a Capitol Hill office building in the 1990s. The presumptive Democratic nominee says the accusation is not true. Republicans, worried about President Donald Trump's political standing, are using the allegation to portray Democrats as hypocrites who only defend women who allege wrongdoing against conservatives. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson says his country is past the peak and on a downward slope in its novel coronavirus outbreak. In his first news conference in more than a month after recovering from COVID-19, Johnson says he'll be presenting a plan next week about how and when the UK will ease lockdown restrictions. They're due to last until at least May 7th. South Africa has begun easing one of the world's strictest lockdowns. People returned to the streets, but not all wore face masks that are now mandatory in the country with Africa's most coronavirus cases. In Johannesburg, Cape Town, and elsewhere, some headed to the malls to buy warm clothes for winter, which brings a new challenge in combating the virus: flu season. South Africa has more than 5,600 cases of COVID-19. The government earlier announced a $26 billion socioeconomic relief package as millions of informal workers have suffered. An annual human rights report released this week has given Pakistan a failing grade, with a list of human rights failings. They include unabated honor killings, forced conversions of minority Hindu underage girls, and continued use of a blasphemy law that carries the death penalty to intimidate and settle scores. The report also criticized increased restrictions on media freedom and criticism of state institutions, and a growing number of cases of sexual and physical abuse of children. There was no immediate comment from the government. Well, since no one is climbing Mount Everest this spring, China has sent scientists up the world's highest peak. The 53-member team has been conducting preliminary scientific work, and survey work is due to begin this month. A network of satellites will be used to determine the mountain's current height, and scientists will gather data on snow depth, weather, and wind speed to facilitate glacier monitoring and ecological protection. China says Mount Everest shrank by 3.7 meters between 1979 and 2005. Well, that'll do it for today's news update. I'm Nima Rajan. Thank you for joining us today, and I'll see you next time.